Okay, hey everyone. I wanted to share some concerns I have for the Metal Gear franchise and where I think it should go after Phantom Pain. So Phantom Pain is coming out in 2015, and it's going to be another chapter in Big Boss's saga, leaving off from Ground Zeroes and Peace Walker. So before I give my thoughts about the series and the franchise, I'd like to tell you where I am and how I got to be playing this franchise. So I've always known what Metal Gear was. I've seen some gameplay and such. Then I saw some trailers for the Ground Zeroes game. And I thought it was about time that I just invest into the series itself. So first thing I did, I bought Metal Gear Solid 1 for the PlayStation 1. Also with the thought going in that I wanted to try out Bleemcast, which is emulation software for the Dreamcast, which allows you to play a few PlayStation 1 games on it. And apparently Metal Gear Solid was compatible. Oh, and besides that, it looked amazing when I tried it. But the first disc had a problem, so it wouldn't get past a certain part. So I asked the eBay seller for a new one. He gave it to me, but I couldn't wait much longer because I already had the HD collection. That includes Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, and Peace Walker. So I ended up just watching Metal Gear Solid 1 cutscenes, and that was amazing. I wish I, I wish I had the patience to like go over and play it again, but I'm into the God of War right now. But besides the point. Then I played Metal Gear Solid 2. I was absolutely in love with that game. It made me cry. Uh, and then, which is Metal Gear Solid 2 is my favorite Metal Gear Solid game of all time. Um, for a few reasons. But then I played Metal Gear Solid 3. I understood the game, I knew where it was going, but it didn't have the same impact to me as Metal Gear Solid 2. And then I played Peace Walker. I think the game was beautifully redone from the PSP version. Uh, I finished the game until Chapter 4, did some of the things leading up to Chapter 5, but I thought it was so boring, I couldn't do those extra missions, I didn't enjoy them. So I just watched Chapter 5 cutscene online. And I'll go back to it someday, but not right now. Then I played MGS4. That game was on a huge scale. It was amazing. I loved every minute of it. It's probably my second favorite in the series. Alright, so now here I am, anticipating Phantom Pain. I'm not gonna play Ground Zeroes, partly because I'm waiting for a price drop, and then I'll just maybe like a week before Phantom Pain, I'll pick up Ground Zeroes for as cheaply as possible. Uh, because the amount of content in that game is not as good as I heard. So then I'll be picking up Phantom Pain after uh, Ground Zeroes after I play through that. Um, Now my thoughts on the series. I think it's good that they are taking it to an open world aspect. Kojima is trying to differentiate the series from what it was, even though it took a huge leap in Metal Gear Solid 4, turning into a more action-based game. It still had some stealth aspects, but we all knew what it was. So he's taking another step into a different direction, open world stealth. And I think this is a very bold move, and I'm almost sure this game is going to be amazing. I'm having high hopes for it. But it should be the last game in the Metal Gear Solid franchise. Because we all know what happens to Big Boss. I'm glad they're introducing new characters such as Quiet and whoever else they decide to throw in there, like Ellie and those African child soldiers and such. That's interesting to see how that goes because it's never really been done before in the Metal Gear Solid franchise. But I think it should be the last game because it's gone on for too long. Seeing a Metal Gear Solid 6 would kind of be losing the magic. I'm sure it would be an amazing game, but do we really need it? The thing we really need is the Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake redone. The whole scale of those two games redone. Because they've been. They didn't stand the test of time from what I could see playing them on the HD collection. I didn't find them too enjoyable. Uh, Considering I've never really grown up with 8-bit games, I think I grew up in the 6th generation of video gaming. But they should be redone in the Fox engine, and they should be redone so they stay true to the retroactive continuity of the whole series in general. Because apparently, from what I've been reading and what I've been seeing, because I watched gameplay on those two games. From Metal Gear 2 to Metal Gear Solid 1, things were not right. Such as spoilers, Big Boss being Solid Snake's father, quotes, um, which apparently wasn't mentioned in Metal Gear 2. So they would have to redo those two games in full scale. They'd have to make it look as good as Phantom Pain doing the Fox engine. They'd have to make it at least like a 10-hour game. They'd have to add new things. It should be basically two whole new games. I'm not saying come out at once, both of them at once, but it should be, each game should be taking hard time to make, good amount of time to make it actually make sense, so it's actually a whole new game. It doesn't feel like the 8-bit. Should You should play as Snake, of course, in both games, Solid Snake, and it should show the transform. It should show Big Boss's intentions behind the scenes, and like cutscenes to him and such. And just basically remake those two games using the Fox engine, adding a whole new layer of story to it, taking the basis of what those two original games were, of course, don't throw those in the trash, and make it the definitive version of those two games, and make it make sense to the whole series as a whole. So those are my thoughts about those two. And my hopes for Phantom Pain, it would, apparently it's including Solid Snake, so it's giving more backstory on him. But it also should include more Gray Fox and something about him and how he became a cyborg, even though it was briefly explained in, actually it was explained in great detail in MGS1. But maybe visually we get to see that. More backstory on the Foxhound members, like Decoy Octopus, we didn't see much of him. Well, I'm glad they're showing like Psycho Mantis and such. And we're gonna see a lot of Skullface as he's the new enemy. And let's see who he actually turns out to be, if he's someone we know. Also, I'm glad we're seeing potentially Ellie is Liquid Snake. Um, that's actually coming to make a little bit more sense. So those are my thoughts about the series. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts, because I've actually been reading a lot of Metal Gear Solid thoughts. So that would be great for your input. So